Hello everyone and welcome to another tutorial. This is Christina from Pixie Drops Backdrops, and today I'm going to be showing you this lovely lilac backdrop and popular top-down view digital backdrops and how to make them look the most believable. I have shot specifically for this backdrop and I'll show you right here. And that is one of the keys to making a fantastic composite is planning ahead, and I always say that. It's not always possible, but when possible, choose your backdrop ahead of time and shoot specifically for it, and you will come up with the most lovely, believable, and perfect composites every time, and your clients will be thrilled. So first things first, when I'm looking to shoot for backdrop, I'm always looking for the lighting. And as you can see here from the shadowing, the light is coming from the top right. And so I lit this shot of this lovely newborn from the top right. The fluff layer doesn't exactly match, but it's a similar tone, and so it will be really pretty easy to change. It'll be easy to make this sort of that light purple, and then we're going to blend it together. And the reason why I like to use part of the background that's with the newborn is so that I have those believable shadows, and I have her tucked down into a little bean bag, and that's going to make her look like she's sunken in to this backdrop, and you'll never know she wasn't ever there. So let's get started. I'm just going to grab with my lasso tool most of this shot. Control C, Control V, and then I'm going to bring her on over and drop her into this backdrop. As you can see, she's quite a bit too big, so Control T and hold down on the Shift key as you're resizing to maintain your aspect ratio. Bring her on over here and click the check mark. I'm going to turn down the opacity on her layer to make sure she's the right size. And I think she's a little big still, so I'm just going to bring her down a little bit more. And since the light's coming a little bit more to the top there, I'm just going to rotate her a bit so her face is to the light. Okay, let's bring her opacity all the way back up. And I'm pretty happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is change this fluff layer, change the color of it to the color in the background. So I'm just going to hide that for a sec and pick one of the purples from here. Turn it back on. New layer, bucket tool, and then I'm going to hold the Alt key, create a layer mask, and that hides everything. And then we're going to go to the white right bracket key to increase the size of my brush. And I'm not going to be at 100% here. I'm going to be about 50% or so with my brush. Nice soft brush. And I'm going to choose color over here and just paint this on. I'm on her layer. And just like that, simple, simple, we've got ourselves a color change that's going to make it really easy to blend. And that way I can keep her wool layer, and that'll maintain those shadows, and you'll just never even know she wasn't here. Okay, back down to her layer. I'm going to add a layer mask, and then I'm going to come over to the black, increase my brush size. I'm going to come down a little bit more, down to about 40, and I'm going to start painting off her layer, her wool layer. But I don't want it all gone, and I'm using a big soft brush so that it'll just sort of edge its way into to meet up where her wrap is there. A little bit at a time. I'm just slowly massaging it as we go. Turn down my brush size, left bracket key, and again, just little circles, bring it in. And I really do want to maintain her shadow So I might even come back and paint back on some of her wool layer on this side. So I'm going to just turn that brush up a bit, or sorry, down a bit, and turn my opacity and flow down, and come back with her layer. Oops. X to flip over to white to bring back her layer. Make sure we have her shadows. Because we changed the color of her fluff, we can use quite a bit of it here. And it looks like it was always there. Alright, what I'm going to do now is add an adjustment layer to her. That's a curve. I'm going to add a curves layer. Create clipping mask to clip this adjustment just to her, and I'm going to bring the shadows down a little tiny bit. That was too much. Let's go back down, and then bring up the highlights a bit to match the contrast in the backdrop. There's without the curves layer and with the curves layer. And let's zoom out, and as you can see, that didn't take very long, and it definitely looks like she's right in that backdrop. And if I want to add back a little bit more for shadows, I'll just go back to her layer mask and the white brush tool and paint a little bit more of it back on nearest to her, and it'll really make it look like she's sunken down into that background. And then I'm going to turn this up quite a bit, and I'm going to make a really large brush here. And then I'm going to just tap, tap, tap around the edges to get the original fluff layer to come through, the fluff layer from the backdrop, while leaving her shadows. Just tap, tap, tap ever so slightly around the edge. And I think what else I'll do here is I'm going to come into her layer just to add a little bit more shadowing. I'm going to go ahead and burn in here just a little bit. Let's see. Go to our history palette and without the burn and with it. And obviously in this backdrop, if there were a baby in here, there definitely would be a shadow. So that makes a lot of sense, and we might want to add a little bit to the background layer as well. So we'll just come in and gently do that. And voila! In very little time, we have this composite achieved. And if you like, you can always go ahead and change the color of this wrap with the same technique that I showed you for the fluff. You can also, I think we went over a little bit on her headband here on the color layers, so I'm just going to remove that quickly. All right. Yeah, you could come in here and you can change the color of this. I actually like the contrasting pink with purple. I think it really works, and I'm going to leave it, but you could also sample from in here if you like. Here, let's I'll just show you really quickly. We'll grab the clone stamp tool and we'll click current and below and make a nice tiny brush. And you could actually, if you wanted to, come in and select these flowers and paint them in. Click on her layer, paint them in where her headband is. And that's just really, really quickly. You can obviously take more time and finesse that, but I tend to do that quite a bit. It's a lot of fun. it can take quite a while to do properly because I'll come in and select individual flowers. Make sure and have your clone stamp on current and below. Make sure that you're on her layer, and you can just play around in the backdrop, grabbing different flowers and make it your own. And you can always leave it the way it was as well. It's totally up to you. I might try that again. We'll just turn that clone stamp all the way down and come back in and just paint. Oops, I need to be on her layer. Paint in on the existing headband. And then there will be shadows there too that you really want. And, you know, I quite like it. It's fun. It's something I like to do. Again, totally up to you. It's going to be a flavor to taste, as with all composites. And that's what art's all about, doing what feels right to you. And so I think I'm going to leave it there. You can always make more adjustments if you like. You can add an overlay for light if you want more light, but I just really like the contrasty tone or feeling of this image, and I'm really happy with this. I'm thrilled with how easy it worked out, knowing that I was shooting specifically for this backdrop. So I hope you like this tutorial. If you have any questions at all, as always, please feel free to ask, and have yourselves a fantastic day.